do we know enough about people who've retired? We actually do not know anything. Around 74% of people straight away said that we want to spend time with family. Another part of it, which is slightly disturbing, is that financial aspect, the most important part of retirement. When we asked people how long did it take them to deplete the entire savings of retirement, the answer is 15 years. So imagine you're a 60-year-old, you just retired. By 75, you have no money, and that's quite scary.
Upasana Koul is the co-founder and the director of Eleveight, a research-driven consulting firm in financial services. She has shaped strategy for top firms like Nippon Life Asset Management. Today, she joins us to talk about how India views retirement in the context of a 100-year lifespan.
Let's talk about that living till 100. As a thumb rule, people need to actually start planning for finances.
Absolutely. The average life expectancy in India is increasing. Plus also there's a
73% of the respondents fear financial instability and only 17% start planning early. What is causing this delay in planning and saving for your retirement? So let's dive straight in. You've done some very interesting research, and the topic of the report is how India thinks about retirement. What prompted this research, and tell us what the findings are.
You're right. We always start with why are we even doing this? So Eleveight as a research firm, our job is to find data, insights for clients. And when House of Alpha team approached us to get some insights on retirement, we just asked ourselves a question: do we know enough about people who've retired? The answer was no, we actually do not know anything. So we just took a step back and said that let's find out what people who are about to retire or have retired, what are their aspirations, what are the desires. And then comes the entire financial aspect of the entire story, which is probably, as we might think, the most important part of retirement. And that was the genesis. That's how we decided that we need to go out there, talk to people who are still contemplating that whether they should retire, they should wait for retirement, do they have enough money for retirement? And these are the questions that prompted us to do the research. Very interesting insights. I can probably share just one or two interesting ones with you. The first one was that for Indians, the biggest aspect of what they want to do after retirement is spend time with family.
Okay.
It comes to us intuitively. Globally, that might not be the case. Globally, the aspiration is very different. But for Indians, it's precisely to deal with how do they spend more time with family. That's also indicative of the fact that we've spent enough time working. So we keep working day and night, one of the most hardest people on the planet. And once we reach retirement, we just want to just lay back and spend time with the family. So around 74% of people straight away said that we want to spend time with family. Another part of it, which is slightly disturbing, is that a lot of people, around 25%, are scared about retirement, especially the fact that they would be lonely. And we will dwell deeper into it in the further conversations. But that just took us back that despite strong family values, a significant percent, which is 30%, still feel that retirement could lead to loneliness, for some even depression of being away from the aspirations that they had. That's another part. Another interesting point is the 15-year cliff. That's what we are calling it.
Okay.
When we asked people how long did it take them to deplete the entire savings of retirement, surprisingly, the answer is 15 years.
Okay.
So imagine you're a 60-year-old, you just retired. By 75, you have no money. And that's quite scary, right? So we found it's very interesting to understand that it's just a 15-year cliff for somebody who's retiring or has already retired. For India, it's quite scary because the number of retired people are increasing day by day, which means that if we have to hit our targets of getting to a $10 trillion economy, we need to take care of the people who are actually at this 15-year cliff. So these are some of the insights you'll find in the report, which also enlightened us.
I want to touch upon all of them because they're all so very interesting. But we were just chatting a short while ago, and you're saying now that at a time when, yes, people are talking about fear of loneliness, depleted savings, there is also that other factor where the typical retirement age is now not 60. Can you tell us more about that?
True. So there are two types of people. The ones who are already in government services, they know their retirement age is fixed, there's no debate about it. But as India has enjoyed a demographic dividend for a while, we have a young economy, right? The startup culture is growing. The perspectives of the younger generation are changing very frequently, which means that the ones who are now in that 35-year bracket have enough money to spend and splurge. They do have this consideration that we want to retire early.
What is early?
So according to us, early for pre-retirees is as early as 45 years.
Wow.
So people want to just hang their boots and say that now retirement starts for me. But what's interesting here is what retirement means to these people. For these people, retirement means the second phase of life.
Yes.
So it's actually not retirement, it's probably refirement or doing something new with their life.
Okay.
So that's very interesting because of the entire startup culture.
Okay.
Now people are considering that my retirement means that I'll start the second phase of life for myself. Whatever I've earned, I'll spend that to build another venture or do something else with my life.
Oh, okay. So do something maybe that satisfies me more,
Absolutely.
or that's my passion.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. And now let's talk about that cliff, because it is very detrimental. And, across reports as well that you read, financial insecurity seems to be one of the biggest pain points. Why do you think that's so?
So frankly, think of it like, there's no simpler answer to this, frankly. But based on our interactions, what we realized is that you can equate it to, maybe a voyage you're taking in a boat. Let's just imagine you're sitting in a boat going on a long voyage. You have maybe 10 years of journey ahead of you. You've carried everything with you. You have your supplies, you have your rice or whatever you want. You have money, you have emergency, things with you, duct tape, whatnot, you're ready, right? You're sitting in the boat on the voyage. When you go ahead, in your mind, you're prepared that, nothing can, destroy my perfect voyage image. But as you move ahead, you realize that maybe there's a hole in the boat or there's water seeping in. Slowly, steadily, you think that, okay, I have duct tape, I'll manage it, right? But in some point of time, the hole starts peeping in again and water seeps in. And that's when you realize that, something is wrong, I've not planned really well, right? Which is what happens in retirement. When you're 30, 35, even 40, you think that I've saved enough, I'm earning well, I have my family to take care of myself. But as you near the retirement age, you realize that there are unforeseen factors, maybe inflation, which you've not accounted for in your financial plan. Maybe this is some dependent, because when we grow older, our parents grow older, right? So they suddenly need a lot of medical expenses. So you need to have a bucket for emergencies, which maybe your duct tape is not enough to handle. And that's what you realize as close you get to the retirement age, which is what's scary.
Absolutely. So what would be the steps to make sure that when you get on that boat, so that you're smooth sailing as a voyage, that you're actually saving enough? What should be the thumb rule, or what should be the factors that people actually take into consideration?
So things that you need to take care of: do you have an emergency fund? Do you have something allotted to every goal in your life? So as you grow older, you know that medical expenses would increase. Your parents could be dependent. Your children would need probably for 2 colleges, 2 kitties to take care of. So the entire structure of your financial plan, the moment you build it for 100 years, the perspective changes.
Okay.
Then you can step back when you're in 30s, realize that if I live till 100, I need these 5 kitties plus emergency to be taken care of. And that's how you structure your financial plan. And I can honestly say that we're all educated, we all know what to do, and in our study also, around 70% people said that they should have started retirement at 30. So everybody has regrets, right? We asked
them... Should have started planning for retirement.
Should have started planning, right? And we also asked them that, do you regret not having planned earlier, right? Yeah. And we got some interesting insights.
Yeah.
So as people, went ahead in life, so somebody who has planned just 5 years ago versus somebody who's planned 20 years ago, both have regrets, right? Even the 20-year one who's planned earlier in the life still thinks that they should have planned even earlier.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is where reality hits you. And the closer you get to the, later stages of retirement, the regret bubble started getting bigger.
Okay.
So this is why you need specialists to ensure that they tell you that what's going to happen for the next 100 years, what is in your control, and what could be the kitty that you need for an emergency which you've not foreseen at all.
Okay.
And that's what specialists can do, maybe nobody else.
Now let's talk about that living till 100, because with the kind of advancements that we're making in medicine, the kind of advancements we're seeing in science, the fact that now we are seeing the life expectancy age as well also increasing in humans, you are saying that now as a thumb rule, people need to actually start planning for finances, assuming that they will live up until 100. So that is a thumb rule?
Absolutely. So the average life expectancy in India is increasing. Plus also there's another report by United Nations which talks about the fact that currently India has around 10% of people in terms of population who are aged about 60 years of age. This number is supposed to go to 20%, which is 2 times of what it is right now by 2050. Which means that by 2050, India would have roughly around 350 million people who are above 60, right? Which means that if your target as a nation is to become a $10 trillion economy by 2030, you need to ensure that these people above 60 are contributing to the economy. Or even if they're not contributing actively, they still have taken care of their expenses and they're well taken care of financially. Imagine the magnanimity of the issue if you realize that even 5% of these 350 million people by 2050 do not have a financial cushion for themselves. That's exactly which is going to put a pressure backwards towards the economy, which means that we need to actively start doing something to ensure that all these people are, one, financially secure and are being actively taken care of, and they have an active leisure policy as well, so that they contribute to what we're doing.
Now, the report findings suggest that 73% of the respondents fear financial instability and only 17% start planning early. I want to understand what is causing this delay in planning and saving for your retirement.
Frankly, it's all about procrastination. We've tried to interview a lot of people wherein we wanted to understand what the reason behind all of this is. The first reason, and I go back to what the insights we were talking about earlier, the family values. A lot of people think that they have a family ecosystem to take care of themselves, and hence they might not even need retirement planning, right? That's the first reason. The second reason is that when you're younger, and that's what we realized with pre-retirees, their aspirations are very different. They're gung-ho, right? So when you're in 35, 40 age bracket, your aspirations are very different. So in terms of the data, 2 times more people who are pre-retirees think that they want to start a new venture after retirement, which means that they think I'll have continuous income coming in even after I retire. Whereas when you talk to post-retirees, I think they're too tired working or have spent enough time working. The aspiration to start something new is slightly lower. So there we found insights like their participation towards yoga or CSR activities, that becomes their aspiration,
priority,
right?
Yeah.
And since this priority changes later in life, which means that you still think you have time to plan for retirement. Until the time you're not post that age, you don't think you need it, right? Which is why we need to start educating people about the need of retirement planning much prior to, the age arrives.
And in the report, you are talking about pre-retirees and actual retirees. So the perception about retirement differs very much in both of these different categories. What are some of the biggest miscalculations that people make when it comes to retirement as pre-retirees?
Interesting. So there are a lot of distinctions. As I was saying that pre-retirement, post-retirement, your perspective changes entirely. So in terms of numbers, when we spoke to pre-retirees, the perception of they getting lonely or they not having family support. So as compared to retired people, pre-retirees, a much lower number of pre-retirees feel they'll be lonely post-retirement. So in numbers, maybe 2 times more of retired people think that, they're lonely now or might be lonely soon. But pre-retirees are, gung-ho. They think that I might not be lonely at all, right? So they don't anticipate the fact that loneliness could be a factor that they need to address post-retirement. Secondly, a lot of pre-retirees, as I said, still think they'll actively continue working for a very long time, which means they don't anticipate that the inflow of money could stop after a certain age, right? So a lot of them think that they'll start their own venture. They'll, contribute to active CSR, maybe start an NGO, but have something on the side which could contribute to their continuous income. Versus retirees. Retirees have already lived the life, they have the reality with them, so they do not consider all of these activities. Another bigger challenge is medical expenses, which a lot of pre-retirees do not, or they underestimate the quantum of medical expenses they'll have to incur. In India, the medical inflation is roughly around 14 to 15%, which is almost, a few times higher as compared to developed nations, and within Asia, the highest in terms of number. What it means is that if somebody creates a retirement plan today, considering that the health expenses, medical expenses could be XYZ, if they fail to consider the medical inflation, the retirement plan could fail entirely. And these are the misconceptions that pre-retirees do not consider while they are creating their plan.
Okay. I may be deviating, but you were talking earlier about how now the current generation thinks that post the age of 40, it'll be a new lease of life, I'll start a new venture, etc. Do you think that, since that we have a better work-life balance as compared to maybe the previous generation, that maybe retirement and savings for retirement will be much more improved with the next generation, that they have saved up significantly higher, they haven't burnt out at a younger age? What's your finding or assessment?
I think it's the other way around.
Okay.
When we spoke to people who are, who younger as compared to, their retirement age, they've considered more expenses as compared to savings.
Okay.
So maybe because the previous generation had a lot of unfulfilled dreams and they could not go for these luxury vacations. India is a more wealthier nation now, right? In terms of wealth pyramid also, the middle pyramid zone is increasing at a faster pace.
Yes.
Which means that younger people have more money now.
Yes.
If they have more money, of course, savings do increase, but the expenses also are increasing accordingly. So it's not that now since they have more money, they're saving more. They might be saving slightly higher than what they were, but since there are a lot of unfulfilled dreams, desires, and they're exposed to a lot of digital media as well, the aspirations go up, and hence the expenses also go up accordingly. So it's not the other way around.
But speaking of money, as per the report findings, a lot of people, or majority of the respondents, preferred investing in mutual funds versus EPF or PPF that was traditionally preferred. Why do you think that is, and is this a better investment route?
This is a slightly controversial question, but I'll kind of take another route to answer this. The question specifically was about what's your preferred medium to invest for retirement as a goal. It does not necessarily mean that you choose mutual funds over PPF or other options that you have, even bank deposits, right? The fact remains that any individual and their goal and their personality would create a permutation combination which eventually decides what kind of product do you choose. What's happening these days is that because of the active efforts of mutual fund Sahi Hai campaigns and the other campaigns which are done by mutual fund companies, there's suddenly a lot of awareness about mutual funds. Also, during COVID and even 1 year post-COVID, there was a lot of activity on the equity market side. So there were a lot of demat accounts suddenly opening up because people started taking interest in equity markets, right? Which is what is leading to the response that, I prefer mutual funds. Having said that, it does not necessarily mean that mutual fund is the only and the best option for you to invest for retirement. Within mutual funds, the entire retirement funds size remains a very small component of the entire industry, maybe around 10,000-12,000 crores, which means that people are not actively investing in retirement funds, so to say. They might be investing in multiple categories within mutual funds with the goal that this money is saved for my retirement. It is preferred because the awareness is suddenly increased, but does not necessarily mean that that's the only product that they use for retirement. They could be using multiple products. But yes, it is a winner in terms of what people feel at the moment in terms of popularity of the product towards retirement.
Since we're talking so much about people living longer now, healthier, progress in science, etc., at the case of sounding a little bit repetitive, how do you actually retire early and have adequate savings for that? What do you need to do when it comes to savings and investments so that you have a retirement kitty ready for yourself?
I think you answered the question within the question itself. You mentioned saving and investment, right?
Yes.
The moment you start segregating these two, you're more aware about what I need to do for retirement. When you're on the saving path, you know that I'm just saving some money. It doesn't take care of what you need to do for the future. It doesn't take care of what goals and aspirations you have. You're simply saving some part of your earnings, saying that I'm saving money. The moment you shift towards investing, which is what people said that they prefer mutual funds, and the second preferred is PPF or other options as well. The moment you switch to the investment mind space, that's when you realize that now I am investing for XYZ goal. Within those multiple goals, retirement is a big pillar of my financial plan. And the moment you do that, mentally you're switching to being more aware about retirement. Post that, you seek advice from a specialist or an advisor, and you'll have a structured plan for the future ready for yourself.
Okay. Now, I'm sure that behavioral aspects and the temperament of a person plays a big role, because a lot of the time it's not just the intelligence quotient, it's the emotional quotient.
Sure.
So can you tell us a little bit more about how behavioral aspects for pre-retirees work into savings for retirement?
You're absolutely right. So the study on retirement is not just about finances, and which is why I said that when we started the study, the objective of covering the financial part of it was the last set of questions that we asked. The behavioral side of it is very different.
Okay.
In fact, there's a happiness report that's launched every year, and according to that, Denmark is the happiest nation. And when they dug down deeper in terms of data, they realized that one of the biggest reasons for Denmark people to be happier post-retirement is active leisure.
Okay.
Which means that post-retirement, you're consciously working towards a leisure activity, which also includes activity.
Okay.
So knitting, painting,
A sport.
crafts, sports, all of that includes active leisure, which means that you're enjoying your life after 60 as well, but you're staying active.
Okay.
Right? And that's one of the biggest reasons or the behavioral changes that people prior to retirement need to condition themselves together, so that post-retirement they're actually not just dependent on family, or they're not dependent only on regular hospital visits, checkups. So that's not their life. Their life includes active leisure. Within that also, there are multiple things that people are doing. When we interviewed them, some interesting stories. One of the story was that since women are getting more into business now, right? There are a lot of people in their 40s, 45 age group who are thinking about retirement, but they've consciously decided that my wife is running XYZ business, and post-retirement, I'm going to support her.
Okay.
So that's my goal in life now. That's my active leisure post-retirement.
Okay.
That we'll continue to grow our business, but since I'll be retired, I'll make sure that I participate in my wife's business and we grow it together. Another category is the ones that they want to give back to the society, right? So they've actively decided that I've registered an NGO, and right now I'm not actively involved in that. I have somebody taking care of it, but post-retirement, as an active leisure, I'll start contributing entirely to that.
Okay.
Some people who already have a hobby or they have a side hustle going on, which is not very seriously taken as of now because of their corporate life, they've decided that I want to take this seriously. I want to expand the business, but I'm just waiting and watching till the time I reach the retirement age. Post that, I switch gears and this becomes my life after retirement. So these are the behavioral things that need to be conditioned while you're approaching retirement, or you still have a long way to go, but still that conditioning could really help.
Yeah, in fact, was hearing about someone who's a doctor who lived till a very old age, and I think having a passion and, like you said, active leisure, that's something that is very important even post-retirement. Now, you spoke about the role of a financial advisor and getting experts in, but what role should a financial advisor play in bridging the gap between retirement expectations and reality?
So, we've been dealing as Eleveight with a lot of wealth managers or advisors. Something that we've realized is that these are the people who are very objective in nature, right?
Yeah.
If I'm your financial advisor, I need to know everything about your life. I actually need to know about your personal life more than your professional life.
Yeah.
Because that's what I consider when I create a financial plan for you. Right? If I'm aware of all the aspects of your personal life, I know that you have maybe one child who has a dream of getting to a US university. You have two parents, who are dependent eventually, or maybe one is dependent, one's not. I know that you have a personal dream of maybe getting a Mercedes XYZ version after a few years. I know all of that. I know your dreams, I know your aspirations, and I also know how much debt you're in. Debt plays a very important role in deciding the entire finances. I know everything about you. The moment an advisor knows everything about the client, that's where personal interactions come into the picture, and that's where a robust financial plan could be created for those 100 years.
Wow.
And that's exactly what a financial advisor would do for a client. Now, there are certain layers to this, right? Not everybody would need a very high-level, sophisticated financial advisor. You could need just a few interactions with somebody to put together a basic plan for you. Maybe you're already aware of how to build your plan, but just take a second opinion on what you're doing, similar to how we go to a doctor, right? We have a specific problem, we get a specific solution. We might be aware of what needs to be done, but a second opinion always helps.
So, for those people who are watching who are in their 30s, 40s, and they haven't really thought too much into retirement planning, it's still a long way off, is what they're saying. What is, just if you could narrow it down to a few pieces of advice, and what is the messaging that you want to give them?
The first and the most important message is that please start now. Please don't wait even a day to visualize your life post-retirement. It may change, the vision may change, but the bare bones structure would always remain very similar. So one is, please do not wait for tomorrow, day after to create your plan. Second is, take your hobbies very seriously, right? Ensure that you have some sort of active leisure in your mind. Develop that or nurture that. Feel proud of having something that belongs to just you. That's another thing. Third, please take expert advice, because you need that to be able to build a very robust financial plan for yourself and to take care of retirement as a specific goal, not just general goals which are eventually leading to investments and savings. Specific retirement related financial plan, please get an expert advice, or if you're capable of doing that on your own, do that on your own, maybe take a second opinion on that. That's the third most important thing. I would definitely urge anybody who's even in 30s, 35, 40, doesn't matter, please start today.
Now, taking into account the lifespan increase to about 100 years, what is the corpus that people should target, the average corpus, in order to live comfortably?
So what should they target is actually dependent on the persona. But according to the research that we've done, when we ask people what's the number that they'll comfortably be happy to retire with, interestingly, we got numbers which were averaging to a 5 crore. Okay, there were some people who even said that 1 crore seems decent, which is what is actually troublesome. Now, if you do a basic calculation on that, a 1 crore number with the current inflation rate, or anywhere around 6 to 7%, would last you only 7 to 8 years, right? Which gets me back to the 15-year-old cliff, which means that anybody who's aiming for just 1 CR, and these could be people from multiple layers of the society, because the research included multiple demographics, age, gender, income, etc. But even if we consider a 1 crore number with an annual expense of maybe 12 lakhs a year, which is not very high, 7 years is nothing considerably, right? Which is why the number of a 15-year cliff, which means that people have actually run out of money, majority of them, seems to be real and seems to be alarming as well.
All right, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for stressing on the importance of saving for retirement. It's ever so important, especially with the kind of lives that we lead, to ensure that we are financially secure post our retirement. So many key takeaways from this episode. The fact that financial savings are depleting within just 15 years of retirement due to medical inflation and general inflation is very concerning. So it is important that you start planning for your retirement now. It's also important to have an emergency fund and also to assess your financial goals, what you need for education, health, etc. Have a financial planner, because that will help in setting and bridging the gap between expectations versus reality. It's also important to build a structure for the next 100 years, given that we are all only going to live longer. Also, nurture your hobbies and make sure that you do have an actively leisure life post-retirement. I would love to know, what are your biggest concerns when it comes to retirement? Have you started saving as yet? Do share with us in the comments section below and tell us some of your key takeaways from this episode. Also, remember to subscribe to Personal Finance TV. I will catch you in the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in.